Hello and welcome. My name's TJ Gamble, and you have tuned in to the e-commerce happy hour, where we're just here to try to help you get more from your e-commerce store. Now, today I am enjoying a little bit of single malt from John Emerald Distillery in beautiful Opelika, Alabama. And today I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the Magento community, Eric from MageMojo. Eric, why don't you introduce us to MageMojo? And if you've got a beverage there, tell us a little bit about what you're enjoying.
Yeah, so MageMojo, we're a hosting provider. We only host Magento stores. That's been our focus and our specialty for, I think, 8 years now. My beverage today is a sake. So I don't normally, see if you can see it, I don't normally buy sake and drink it at home, but I've been getting a lot of it as gifts. It's the Kokuryu Tokusen Ginjo Crystal Dragon. So good stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try to pronounce it. I'd be like, it's just some Japanese symbols. Sorry. Yeah, we're not going to go that far with it. This is my favorite part right here, where you get the cork sound. So we're going to talk today. We're going to talk Magento hosting, particularly cloud hosting. So I want to make sure I don't know how technical the audience is. So be sure to post your questions. If you have any questions, we're going to get to a Q&A session throughout the event, but a little later in the broadcast. So let's talk about cloud hosting. Just make sure everyone understands what we're talking about while we're going through this. And so, do you have a simplified technical explanation of what cloud hosting is, and maybe how that differs from what merchants may be accustomed to?
I don't actually. I don't have a really simple explanation. No, I mean, I think the definition of cloud depends on who you ask. I've seen a lot of articles on it and seen a lot of different explanations. My explanation would be that I should probably mute my phone. My Twitter feed's gonna blow up. No, I always looked at cloud like it was when you took virtualization. You're familiar with virtualization, where you can have a guest operating system on multiple guest operating systems on a physical hardware. My definition of cloud was when we connected that to a SAN. So now the storage was no longer in the physical chassis; it was on a SAN over network. And what that allowed you to do is when the guest operating, or actually when that physical chassis where the CPU, the motherboard, the memory was, if it died, your instance lived. So what would happen was if there was a failure there, you would float then across physical chassis. So that allowed for high availability, or even just moving from one to the other and moving things around. And I thought that was the whole disconnected nature of clouds, where because of connecting it to the remote SAN, that allowed your guest operating system to float across physical chassis. So today, though, you'll hear cloud being called all kinds of different things. Everybody has a cloud. Every provider has a cloud. Cloud services, public clouds, private clouds. I think today it just means any computing that you can buy in a utility nature, where you can buy you computing by the hour or even by the minute. I think is probably the modern definition of cloud.
So for most people, it's basically your site is hosted across multiple physical devices.
No, you're still on a single physical device.
Okay.
But you can be moved. You can move, and if there's a failure in the physical hardware, then you can be moved to a new chassis, a new spot. Or if like for example, as a provider, we want to resize you, we can move you across different chassis and like live migrate you. So we can actually, while you're running, move you from one physical set of CPU and memory and motherboard onto a new one, which helps with maintenance, helps with failures, helps with HA.
So I guess from a merchant's perspective, particularly, cloud hosting basically means that what you're running on the server is separated from the physical hardware so that it can be portable.
Probably to the merchant, I would say it doesn't mean a whole lot because the definitions are just so all over the place, like depending on who you ask. Everybody's cloud, 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 cloud. The benefits for the merchant, though, are being able to resize your instance. So, for example, And this doesn't necessarily require cloud, but it's what the benefits of virtualization. So for the merchant, the benefits of cloud come from virtualization, which is allowing you to dynamically resize your instance. So let's say you have a 4-core instance, and you want to go to 8 cores. We can easily do that. We can give you 8, take you up to 8 cores, and that's the benefit of the cloud. If you want more RAM, we can resize you, add more RAM, and we can do that without having to like reinstall the operating system, rebuild everything. I think that's probably the main benefit. Although with Stratus, we've completely removed all of that, like where you're worried about CPU, memory. Like on Stratus, you no longer think about any of that. It's no longer a concern. We have unlimited amounts. We buy it basically from AWS, like you buy electric from the electric company.
So as far as the obvious benefits, other than technical, like not necessarily technical benefits, but most Magento merchants, most people hosting are very familiar with shared hosting or a dedicated box or something like that. Is scaling the primary benefit of a cloud setup, or are there other benefits that we haven't touched on?
Well, the auto scaling thing, that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of misinformation about auto scaling. Everybody today they say they have a cloud. Everybody today they say they have auto scaling, but really that just goes back to virtualization. So, for example, like Nexus has a new cloud, and they say they have auto scaling. What that is it's overselling cores in the physical chassis. So, like for us, we released this I think 3 or 4 years ago. We had auto scaling out, and it's the same thing. So the way it works is with virtualization, you can say, okay, customer, these are your 4 cores, but if there are other cores available, you can use those. So we can actually watch and monitor your CPU utilization, and through algorithms and prediction, we can look at those metrics, and we can actually, in the operating system, unmask CPU cores. So what you're doing essentially is you're unmasking and remasking CPU cores. So when we see you're out of CPU, or we predict you're going to be out of CPU, we unmask cores in that physical chassis, and we allow you to use them when you need it, assuming no other customers are using it, because all providers have multiple, it's a multi-tenant, there's multiple customers there going after those cores. That's limited vertically to where you can go with auto scaling. On Stratus, there is no limitations. You can go unlimited horizontally. Like our containers, everybody starts out with a cluster, and it will automatically scale across unlimited amounts of physical EC2 instances to give you the CPU and the memory you need instantly when you need it. That's another thing. Like with ECE, when they talk about auto scaling, it's not like you have to call them and say, hey, I think I'm having an auto scaling event, and then they'll say okay. And no, they're limited to 3 physical instances. No ECE build ever has more than 3 physical EC2 instances. So what they do is they just resize you vertically up, and you only get I think 5 of those a year. So you have to request it. You're limited to where you can go horizontally on it. That's not auto scaling. Like if you have to call somebody and ask them, hey, can you scale my stuff? Like that's not auto scaling. But with Stratus, it automatically does it. And with like EC2 instances, a lot of people think that they're running their own AWS and they have auto scaling, and they have things set up to share files and bring up instances and auto scaling groups. But what you see happening is they can't bring up a new instance fast enough. Today's traffic, it's floods, it's tsunamis, it's social media. Everybody has their phone in their pocket. They get a an Instagram alert. Oh, I want to click on this. Boom, thousands of people hitting your site. So what Stratus does is it maintains a fleet of all these instances ready to go. And with our custom autoscaler and Kubernetes, we're able to send you across quickly, immediately when you need it. That's a big difference. It's a big difference. If you think you have auto scaling, ask your provider if you're sharing cores, and if you're limited to the vertical height of what the physical cores in the chassis are.
So you're claiming that MageMojo has the only unlimited horizontal auto scaling. Is that the claim? Is that the takeaway from this so far?
That's a pretty bold claim. I think some other people are doing something similar. Like MaxScale claims they have. Is it MaxScale? Lagrange systems. They claim they have scaling, but it's different. The difference is they're using physical machines and they're using lsyncd and they're synchronizing the files. So it gets it's not quite the same thing. It's slow. There's still lag there where you bring up the new instances, and they do good. The difference is we've taken everything and just made it completely serverless. So you're unlimited horizontally. Also with the database, we're using Aurora. So your database is sitting on Aurora with a write master and read replicas. So we're sending your database traffic out horizontally as well across Aurora. And we're doing that with Docker and Kubernetes and containers in a much different model than if you have scripts set up that just provision AWS instances and put you on those instances. And it's not the same thing. But other than that, I don't know of anybody. Maybe somebody in the comments can help us out. Oh, we are getting some questions. Cool.
Yeah, we get a few questions. And by the way, if you're watching this live, post your questions on the YouTube chat. We'll be happy to try to answer any of those, and we'll intermix them within our conversation. And you guys steer where you want this to go. This can be as technical or as non-technical as you want it to be. Your questions really drive where we go with these interviews. So we've got Eric. Another Eric
Yeah.
Risler. Please let me know if I mispronounce your last name there. He asked, are you scaling metrics static, i.e. greater than 10K sessions, you start up another container?
No. Our scaling metrics are dynamic. That's why we had to write a Kubernetes custom auto scaler. With the built-in, you can do that's one of our customers. Cool. With the built-in Kubernetes metrics, you're only looking at CPU. And while that's cool, and that's one of the bottlenecks, it's not the only bottleneck. So no, we dynamically read metrics from across different areas to know when you need to auto scale. Like for example, maybe you're being limited by file IO, and you need to go out across multiple instances of the FS that we have, which I'm sure somebody's gonna ask us questions about the file system. So no, it's not. It's dynamic. It's very dynamic metrics for the auto scaling, and quick.
Mark Lewis asked from a reliability, from maybe I've drank too much already, from a reliability standpoint. Yeah. What are the advantages and disadvantages of Stratus?
The advantages are Stratus is, first of all, Stratus is using Aurora database. So we have read replicas, and Aurora, I think, is the data is stored across 6 availability zones, I want to say. So the data is highly protected on Aurora. Aurora automatically handles failovers, so you have more than one database instance. If that instance fails, you will be failed over to a new write master, which is promoted. So you have good HA on the database. As far as the other services goes, the availability is good because everything's in containers. So if a physical instance dies, Kubernetes recognizes that and will shift your containers over to already running instances. And then the auto scaling groups bring up more EC2 instances. That's the thing. Like we maintain a fleet of EC2 instances. So we're always bringing them up, bringing them down based on, dynamic metrics.
Awesome. By the way, if you're watching, looks like we've got 57 concurrent watchers right now.
Is that a new record?
Viewers. That's probably a record. We don't usually get that many live. This, I think so. We'll see how the numbers shake out. But if you're watching this, go ahead and you like what we're doing here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. Hit the thumbs up on the video. There's 57 people watching and 4 thumbs ups. Come on, people. Help us out. Give us a little feedback. Let us know if you're enjoying this, and we'll continue down the questions. Ryan McDonald asked, how do you scale master MySQL for writes?
Well, you can't. So that's scaling MySQL for writes is you can't do that on Aurora. Aurora is only allowed 1 master. But what we can do is offloading all of the reads off of the master. So by offloading all of your reads, you get a lot of sorry, getting messages.
You're watching the comments. I see. You got to focus here. Focus.
Maybe I drank too much. No, so Aurora has 1 write master, but by offloading the reads, you can scale that. But also here's the thing about support at MageMojo. Like we don't just say, okay, the hardware is good, it's not our problem. Like if somebody's in here and they're pushing our systems hard and they're hitting deadlocks, we will help you with that. Like we will say, oh, hey, we pulled the deadlock logs out, we looked at your queries, we have DBAs here, and this is the problem, and this is the code where it's coming from, and here's what you need to do in order to get to the next level of performance you want to get to. That's a huge difference, man. Like if you look at other people's statement of works, they're like Sanasi, for example. His statement of work is by the minute. Like if you ask him a question and it's not a server problem, you get billed. Like if it's not a server problem, you get billed by the minute and extra if it's after hours. Like if you want a dev site, like Nexus is going to charge you $25. Like we always made dev sites for free. We've always resynced dev sites for free. Like that's included in our support where we work with customers. We say, okay, you guys have these problems. Here's the solutions to your problems. If we could build something better to help you with that, well, that's exactly what we're doing with Stratus and Stratus 3.
Well, we always recommend that merchants choose a Magento focused hosting company, somebody that understands the platform, that understands the complexities that comes with hosting on Magento. And so that leads me into one of the questions I had. What does your support agreement look like? What is your SLA? What is your support? And what are you willing to do for the merchants that maybe others won't?
Yeah, it's a 15-minute SLA, 24/7, weekends and holidays. We love performance issues. We go in and we say, okay, we've looked at your metrics, we've looked at your code, we've profiled it because I've done talks on S-Trace, like at Meet Magento New York, for example. So we'll go in and we'll look and we'll say, okay, it's this file, it's this line number, it's this piece of code. Here's why it's a problem. Here's what we suggest you do to fix it. If you need help finding developer resources, we got you covered. But yeah, no, a lot hosts don't do that. Like people, and this has been a hard thing for us to sell because everybody's come out and said, we have Magento specific hosting. We have Magento specific support. No, you actually don't, because you have Magento specific support, WordPress engine support, WooCommerce specific support. Like you can't be an expert in all the things. Like, and so that's a big difference when you email us. Like we actually look in and help you and advise you on those issues, because it's important to understand the bridge between the code and the server hardware, and that's where we step in. We say, okay, here's the Magento code that's interacting with the hardware. Here's what the hardware thinks is happening, and this is why it's a problem. And I don't know of anywhere else you're going to get that.
Great. Again, continuing down the questions, we're getting a lot of questions in the chat. Please keep posting them. We will try to get to all of these questions before I let Eric go. I hope he has nothing to do today. Continue dropping those things in there, and we'll make him answer all of them before he can leave. So,
Love it.
Mike McCoy asks, how are resources for cron jobs and indexing distributed?
So we have one container for crons, and this is a good question. We actually rewrote the Magento 2 cron. We rewrote it. We released it on GitHub. Our CTO, Martin Paschal, was at Imagine with the community engineering team at the hackathon for 2 days, worked with them on the UI components to integrate it into the core. The Magento 2 cron has many issues. There's a handful that cause all kinds of problems with it. And it's one of those things like with trees falling in the woods. If you're not around to hear it, are they still falling? Yeah, man, they're falling and they're doing damage. So the cron is a single service, and we install our cron extension on everybody, and that allows us to make sure that the crons are being executed and not overlapping each other. But there's no limitations on how often you want to run crons, what crons you want to run. Yeah, no, there's unlimited resources to run cron. So, but cron is single threaded by nature. So keep that in mind. Like, we will execute multiple cron tasks in parallel, but those tasks, we make sure to keep them synchronous to avoid any problems. So we've actually put a lot of work into that with our Magento Cron 2 extension.
Slinky asks, Slinky, that's a great name, by the way. So Slinky asks, and don't get clever with the usernames. Don't try to make me say things I'm not supposed to say on here. I will just not say your name. How are you evaluating performance if someone says a page is slow on Stratus? In-house tools. So do you have a particular process? If my site's slow, what's your process for figuring out what that problem is?
Well, that's another great question, because we have to determine what is slow. We have to ask the customer, okay, what is slow to you? What are you doing? How are you measuring it? We get people measuring things all the time. Some people just click something and it's, it's the butt dyno, and they say the butt dyno is slow. Some people go to like webpage test.org. Other people are looking at Chrome tools in their browser. For us, we look at Chrome tools. We largely measure time to first byte, because that's what we care about most. But we also have New Relic internally on all Stratus customers. So we'll go into New Relic, into the APM, and we'll actually look at the code traces. By default, I think it's set to capture traces over 2 seconds. So we'll go in and we'll look at the history and the performance and see in those code traces, what's going on. Is there actually problems? And if there are, is it in the file? Is it in the database? Is it remote calls? And then we'll look at the code, and that's how we tell customers, hey, other harder to solve issues, like if it's in the checkout, we'll get strace out. We'll get strace out, and we'll start tracing calls into the checkout on Stratus, and we'll look at that and evaluate just trace output. So it depends on the situation, but largely we use New Relic, but we also fall back on strace. Sometimes
So it's
Blackfire.
well, that's what I was about to ask you about. As far as New Relic, do customers, do merchants or partners have access to New Relic on those instances?
We don't share New Relic access. Like, our account doesn't allow that to do that. But if you have your own New Relic ID, you can add it in and then share it back to us. So you can bring your own New Relic a key if you want.
Okay. What about Blackfire? Same situation.
Yeah, same situation. If you want to bring your key and everything, you can do that.
Okay. Kevin Gardner here, Birmingham, Alabama, is asking, what kind of new Stratus control panel tools are you introducing in the near future?
Wow. Okay, that's a really, really big question.
Sneak preview.
Yeah. So Alan Kent, after he's the former VP of architecture at Magento, after he left Magento and before he went to Google Cloud Engine, he signed on as an advisor to help lead this pivot. So the pivot is based around Blue Ocean strategy. TJ, are you familiar with the Blue Ocean strategy at all?
Well, I mean, whether I am or whether I'm not, see, this is great. If I don't know an answer, I just blame it on the audience. Let's go ahead and describe it.
So this is a big pivot for us. The Blue Ocean strategy is about, the red ocean is when you're in a market and it's just blood red because everybody's fighting over the same customers. It's the race is being driven to the bottom. The blue ocean is about creating a new product where there are no competitors, to bring in new customers and to open up new market share and to take existing market share, because you're no longer competing with those competitors on the same level. So to do that, we're going to introduce the dev tools. So Stratus is pivoting into the ultimate hosting for Magento, into the ultimate dev platform for Magento, with great hosting underneath it. And to do that, Alan was a big proponent of the dev tools. Like, he wrote a lot of articles on developing, deploying. He did the Magento dev box. He wrote a lot on that. So he helped us to understand all the challenges that are faced when you try to do development on Magento and deployment on Magento, which we see ourselves, because we get hands-on together with customers on solving issues, and so we see the struggles. So what Stratus 3 is building on top of the foundation of Stratus with the containers and breaking up the services into groups and creating a live preview. So with the live and the preview, the live is your production, that's your production environment. And then the previews, you can have as many as you want. So think about p.sh in Enterprise Cloud and how you branch your Git repo, and you also branch the environment. It's the same thing. So a preview is a copy of your code, a copy of your database, and a copy of the server configuration. And it's all in our UI. So now you can save previews, you can reload previews, you can refresh them, you can diff between them. So you can diff your preview between a previously saved preview to see what's different. You can diff between live. And then when you're ready, you can push your preview to live with zero downtime deployments. We give you we give everybody the ability to add in your own custom commands to run on deployment, but then we also give you Rails, so you can see all the Magento commands, you can see all the MageMojo commands. There's a nice UI where you can plug them in and you can reorder them so that you have them running in the order that you want. You see everything available. We give you preset templates to do these deploys. Then when you push a deploy, Kubernetes brings up the new container, so it actually builds all your code, runs all your code, gives you the output. You can test this before you go live with it. Then it comes up in the container, and the new containers come up. Kubernetes sends the new incoming traffic over and then drains the old traffic off of the old containers. And when it's gone, it shuts those down. So it's a zero downtime deployment. But also, we want to extend this to the local development environment too. So now, when like on P.sh, you can't run Magento in development mode on ECE. You can't do it. They don't let you. They also limit your API calls too, so it's very restrictive. But what we do is we're working on a two-way sync down to your local files. So now you can hook your IDE up to your local files. When you make a change, all your devices live reload. Now you're working on a fully functional, perfect copy of what the production server is on local files. That's a huge thing. Like we've looked at and Alan had these challenges when they did the Magento dev box, like sharing files between your file system in a two-way, because Magento generates dynamically files from Docker, has always been a little bit of a challenge. So what we're doing then is we're allowing you to manipulate these development environments on the fly through our UI, and then bringing them to local files so you can easily work, and then giving you in the UI a multi-pane real-time streaming log outputs. And now you see all the logs from the services. It's just really, it's all about making development for Magento 2 easy and solving the deployment process, because everybody, like all the agencies, all the developers, they're bringing their own bag of scripts and they're all trying to reinvent this wheel and rewrite all these things. And people have their own that they're really comfortable with, but we're saying, like, look, we see what everybody's doing. I think we can, with Alan Kent's experience, promote the right ways of doing these things. And then for people who still want to do their own deployments and manage everything outside of there, that's fine, because we have an API and a CLI. So all these functions that you do in the UI, you don't have to use the UI. You can automate them through our API. You can run them from the CLI. So now you can hook your own Git repository up to the Stratus 3, and it'll do your branching and your development environments and link it up. And then when you push to it, it'll pull back. So you can do it very similar to P.sh. That's a lot. So
Hey, keep going, man. That was fantastic. I think Wayne Crow here has a question that was related to the previews you were mentioning, and Wayne, we're getting a lot of Alabama folks on the live stream today. More Birmingham, Alabama, EBSCO in the house, and his question was, how close is live preview to being released?
Probably mid next month. That's the date that we're shooting for. We have all the individual we have the UI written, first of all. So now what we're doing is we're testing the individual components. So we have all the individual components working. Now what we're doing now is we're working with our partners, our agency partners and developer partners. And if anybody wants to partner with us on this, let me know. Best way to get in touch with me is eric@magemojo.com. Shoot me an email to join the program. We'll get you into our Slack, and we'll get you set up with test environments for Stratus 3 so you can test it. We have everything. We have the foundation laid down, and we have all the tooling. What we're doing now is we're optimizing the tooling, trying to find the edge cases, the corner cases, to work out any issues. But more importantly, getting more customer feedback, because all of this is customer driven. So we want people to come in and use these things and say, like, hey, we like this, or dude, this sucks. We need to know that in order to make sure that we're building the right products. So that's what we're going to do over the next month and a half, is just work with customers to make sure it's good.
Great. So, I mean, you had touched on bringing in Alan Kent a little while ago, brought up the name. And for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about Alan and kind of what you brought him on to do.
Well, first, just let me say Alan's an amazing dude. He's not only smart and brilliant, but he's also, like, on a personal level, just a really, really great dude that I can't say enough good things about. So Alan left Magento, and I engaged him to say, hey, we're we're building some dev tools. You've got the dev experience. Take a look at what we're doing and see if there's a way we can work together. And we talked, and he loved what we were doing, and we really liked him. So we did a short-term engagement, because we knew once he came in and he helped lay out all these things internally with us, like literally creating all the Jira sprints and what's the term? I don't work with Agile every day, but laying everything out in Jira, all of the tasks and organizing them, and so we can go through it. And then also brainstorming ideas and technical challenges, that would be it. That he wouldn't be really fulfilled here. He's a brilliant dude looking for bigger things than to just working on his UI thing with us and the tooling. So we knew it would be a short-term engagement, which is why I didn't announce it earlier, because then people would be like, well, why do you leave? Why do you leave? Well, we knew he was going to leave. We knew he was going to leave all along. It was just a short-term thing to come in and to help steer us in the right direction, which he absolutely did.
Well, it sounds like, one of the things I've tasked my team with is I literally want to be able to come in and complete a short wizard and actually have development environment, hosting environment, our base modules installed, basically a platform with everything we need to start actually writing custom code. And I want to take that down from whatever it takes now to a matter of a morning, right?
You can do that. You can do that
Yeah.
on Stratus.
That's what it sounds like you guys have already done the hard work.
Well,
and I just need to piggyback on that.
Yeah, so we can give you, as a partner, we can give you a branch in the Stratus Quick Start, and then when you pass your branch code into our checkout, we can even co-brand a Stratus hosting product with you. When it provisions, it will provision using your post install sh and your composer JSON. So you can have a Stratus instance come out of Stratus provision just the way you want it, with all your tools and configurations, all your modules, all your tools, all your paths, all of that configured from that Git repo.
Fantastic. We'll definitely talk about that offline a little more. I've got BDS 1400 here in the chat who says, your support has been amazing. I've never dealt with a company with support this good. So I'm going to heap a little praise
Thank you.
On the live stream. Thank you, BDS. You deserve some sort of coupon. Hit up Marsha or Eric and get that. We've got 68 people watching live. We haven't quite broken 70 yet, but
Wow.
that is definitely a record. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on the video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I'm going to keep, shamelessly self-promoting as much as I can while I've got people watching this thing. So we're going to keep going through the questions.
Questions. Let's knock them out.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Nadia Garcia here, from a cost perspective, when is MageMojo affordable? And Magento is, it's an investment. It's not, it's not a SaaS platform that's just kind of there. It comes with the flexibility, and with that flexibility, there is a tax. So, a lot of people are always looking to cut their costs, and, oftentimes they end up on a bargain basement host, especially for Magento open source or community edition. And that's not necessarily the best long-term strategy. So I guess my understanding of this question is, is there a sales threshold? Is there a complexity threshold? Is there, one of those areas where it makes sense to go to a Magento specific host that kind of has that minimum threshold of hosting costs?
Yeah, I mean, affordable is a very different thing depending on who you ask. And I think a lot of that comes down to the margin maybe on your products. So with Stratus, it's paid for what you use. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. And the pricing is based on Google Analytics sessions. So we actually connect to your Google Analytics sessions, Google Analytics API. We read your sessions, and then we bill you based on that, and then also on your storage. So it starts at $58 a month, gives you 20 gigs of storage, 2,000 sessions, and then in the Northern Virginia region, it's half a cent per session and 50 cents a gig of storage. So with that, you can then take your conversion rate and you can figure out how much per order Stratus is going to cost you. So you can actually build that pricing into your customer acquisition lifetime value, your CAC LTV, or whatever financial projections you're running. So it really depends on your margin. I think at $58, it's maybe 75 cents or $1 an order, depending on what region you're in, and then it just drops dramatically below that as you use it.
All right, so we're going to continue on. We've got Jared Davenport here and Pablo praising MageMojo and your support. Pablo with
Thank you.
121 Commerce. So you're getting a lot of praise. Swift Otter as well. I don't know who that is from
Oh,
Swift Otter.
Joe, yeah, Joe Maxwell. He did our DB
Yeah.
schema. Did you see those?
Well, it says
Oh,
Swift
you
Otter.
didn't
I
get
don't know.
one.
Well, no, I didn't get this. We'll talk about the scheme in a minute. This says Swift Otter. I don't know if it's Joe, but I'm going to pause here for station identification and a commercial for Swift Otter. If you're looking to get certified in Magento, check out Swift Otter. Check out what they're doing with the study guides on the certification. They do a fantastic job. I'm really proud of what they do there, and you guys need to support that. As far as the database schema goes, I actually gave away something I call the swaggies on Twitter. And we'll get to your questions here in just a second. I'll try to keep this brief, but I was going to shoot a video around the awards for the best swag, and I'm pretty busy. I'm pretty much out of the office for 3 of the next 4 weeks, probably 5 of the next 7 weeks. And so I just didn't have time to do it. So I just posted on Twitter talking about one of your competitors, and I'm going to show the swag, but this is the best swag I've probably ever gotten, and I'm not counting like the official Magento bags at events. I've gotten some really nice bags at events, Magento and otherwise, but one of your competitors gave away a canvas bag here, which I was talking to people about this, and they're like, "Oh, the bag itself is swag," and I'm like, "Yes, this is really nice." It's a very, very nice bag for a giveaway. And then Marcia at MageMojo immediately texts me and starts giving me hell about, did you not get the fabric print of the Magento 2.3 database schema? And I'm like, I saw it. First of all, I didn't know it was swag. It's like a massive ass poster. And so I don't know it's swag. And
Cue the Price is Right sad trombone.
I'm still not sure that's better than the bag. Like it's cool and all. I would have liked to have had one, but it is a big poster of a database schema. I'm not sure it would have beat that for the Swaggy Award. And with Marcia, when she texts you, like I love Marcia to death. Don't get me wrong. Now I'm a big Marcia fan, but I can't tell if she's trying to be funny if she's coming unhinged, because she seems like she could come unhinged pretty good.
You might want to be a little bit afraid. You might want.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if she's just giving me a hard time or if she's actually coming unhinged. So I'm a little nervous next time I see her. Marcia, I love you, and I'm sorry that you didn't win the Swaggy Award this year. But next year, there's always next year.
When are you going to blow shit up?
Well, see, I was trying to get it shot, but then I've got promo videos for Meet Magento Netherlands. It's going to be at least 2 weeks before I'm back in the office to blow all the stuff up. So within the next month, I'm going to have a video out where I'm going to blow up all the swag I got. Well, at least most of it. There's a few things, like my wife kept a few t-shirts and stuff, but we're going to blow it. We're just going to find creative ways to destroy the swag, melt some, shoot some, blow some up. We'll see how that goes. So I'm getting back into the questions here.
Let's knock them out.
Eric has another question. We've got a ton of questions. Keep them coming. We love these questions. You guys are asking fantastic questions that are steering this conversation. So Eric Risler has another question here. Are you using AWS dedicated instances to back the containers? Are you using standard EC2 instances? I ask as a precursor to asking, how do you avoid noisy neighbor challenges?
Okay, so yeah, the noisy neighbor challenge is it's actually not a problem on the EC2 instances. So yes, we use EC2 instances. Yes, we manage them, but we measure everything as a whole, and EC2 instances scale and contract dynamically. So when I say there's no noisy neighbor issues, it's because we have auto scaling enabled. So we are always like resizing people in and out, and we also have limits on how many we put per instance. So there's no contention for memory. We always have enough memory. There's no contention for CPU, because as you add CPU or need more memory, you get scaled out, which is just PHP FPM. So keep in mind, the only thing that really needs a lot of resources is the PHP FPM service and container. So we can scale that out horizontally. Now with the file system, so if you're using Stratus Cache or you're using our deployment method, you will have your code compiled in the container that we store on a local EBS volume. The shared files, though, have their own file system on each instance. So each customer on each instance, even when they're scaled out, has their own file system in memory on that instance. And that's a big thing that like people say you can't do it, you can't do the share. We figured out a way to do that, and it's one of the magic that makes it all work. So there's no contention on the file system at all. There's no contention for CPU and memory. Where you do see some contention is on Aurora. So because we're using large Aurora clusters, you can get into situations where there's contention on that. The way we work around that and we prevent that is by proxying all of the connections into Aurora. So by proxying, we're able to do some really, really cool shit. Like we can rewrite queries, any bad queries, like, we see this all the time. We see really bad queries all the time. We can individually rewrite bad queries from your store on the fly. We can also split read and write for CE editions, because M2 CE, we released a split DB extension. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of corner cases, but by proxying this traffic, we can easily, perfectly, 100% split all the reads and the writes from each other. We can also impose resource limits. It's also faster. So if you go through the Aurora endpoint itself, there's lag. There's a few milliseconds. So we've been able to speed up performance. So that's how we keep the noisy neighbors down on the database, by proxying the database connections, rewriting bad queries, firewalling certain queries, looking for abuse of traffic. And if we see people are having issues, and we do, especially using search, like we have people come in, they'll set their 404 to a search, or the big thing right now is to generate a category page using a catalog search. But we'll talk to that customer. We'll say, hey, look, this is what you're doing. This is going to be slow for you. Here's what you need to do to work around this. And we work with them to like I said, either rewrite the queries on the fly, or advise them on a better extension. So if they're having search issues, we know we support the Smile.io ES extension. We'll say, hey, look, we support this. We'll turn up an Elasticsearch container, and we'll help you move all your search results into this container, and now they're good to go. So that's the kind of like white glove, hands-on support that we offer everybody.
So it's as much about technology as it is education and support.
Totally. 360 degrees.
360 degrees support.
Yeah.
It means you are surrounded by Magento love. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had some other questions too in terms of live local files, dev workflow. How does that work if we have 5 developers working on a project? So the developers each developer has their own preview. So you can create a preview for each developer, and then they can save and reload, or you can do it by feature. So if you want to work by feature, it depends on your flow. If you're doing Git flow or the GitHub flow, but the previews, will map one-to-one to that. And then the local live files, yeah, that's a two-way sync. So if it's connected to the preview. So whoever's working on the preview would have that on their local files.
You're jumping way ahead of me on the questions here. I'm trying to go chronologically, and you're bouncing around everywhere.
I'm just bulldozing them, man. Give them.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Get whatever question you want to answer. I'm just trying to go down the list, be democratic about it. So Carl Elder asked, and he's kind of touching back to what we were talking about 15 minutes ago. So a dev instance from production is included for free. What if we want to migrate our dev instance first and don't want to launch for a couple of months? Need a new host. So they say they're migrating to M2. They're not ready to launch. Is a dev instance free, or are you charging them, your bare minimum fee for the dev instance? What does that look like?
Oh, so we include migrations for free. We do migrations for free. We do them quickly. We usually have them ready for you to test within 24 hours. It depends on what you want to do. In that case, I would suggest we do a migration. We make a copy over into live, and then from there you can use the previews to do your devs. So you can do this yourself. You just make a copy into the preview and refresh it and work on it, and then you can constantly pull your code base back. It's all on the MojoStratus IO domain, so you don't have to worry about like dev domains and things like that. And then you can work there. All your developers.
Let me clarify a little bit just to make sure we're on the same page. You offer a migration of an M2 installation from another host to your host for free, but I think what he's asking is, say he's got a Magento 1 site and he's looking to migrate to Magento 2. And so there's ongoing development for months going on, and he needs a dev site, to eventually go live. What does the fee structure look like to go ahead and get a dev installation going? And normally what we do, and this may be what you recommend, it may not be, normally you'll set up a new production instance and you'll just develop on the production instance until you're ready to go live. Or at least it'll be your staging instance, and then the dev could be actual dev. And then once you go live, then the dev becomes staging, and what you were developing on is your production. So you go ahead and set up an actual hosting account. Is that your recommendation? Yes. Or is there some lesser plan that they could get on until they're ready to go live?
I mean, it's $58 a month, so I don't know of anything lesser than that, especially with our support included. But we will migrate that for free. So if you're working somewhere else, we will migrate what you're working on over, and then you can take it from there. So we'll seamlessly for free slide it over. It's $58 while you're in development, and then you have access to our support and all of our tools.
You can afford that, Carl. Do it.
If you can, you can do it. We believe in you.
So Robert Brody asks, are you going to open a container repo that your customers can push builds to? If not, what are your preferred deployment tools for Stratus?
Yeah, so the container repo it draws two things in my mind. One is if we were going to let people use the container repo or give them containers like in Minikube to pull down to their local environment and work on, that's not what we're looking to do. But as far as deployment goes, we will have all of the options from the UI. We'll have all the options from the UI into CLI commands and API commands. So if you want to just deploy straight into live, you can do that, and you can use the CLI commands to trigger all of the builds, all of the tests, all of the deployments. Fine, you can do it all from CLI. Like if you have Capistrano now and you want to do that, you can have Capistrano set up to push your code and pull it in. With the API calls, if you're using like GitHub and you want to trigger that when you commit to a branch and have it pull, we'll have the API calls available for you to do that. So we're not trying to tell anybody like this is the way you should do it, but we're giving people sets of rails that they can follow so they stay on the right track, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry to choke up there while you're talking. I do not inhale your alcohol, people. It is not a good strategy. And my mute button is hidden behind my camera there, so I couldn't mute. I just tried to not cough. It's not. I almost died. It's okay. It's going to be your fault if I don't survive. All right. So again, more praise here from Mark Lewis about your supports. And Andrew Davis asked, what kind of security does Stratus have built in? Does it have virus scanning, file integrity checking, web application firewall? Are you checking for the latest patches? There's all sorts of things there that come with Mage, #Mage security. What do you have built in?
Okay, so security starts at the edge. Everything goes through CloudFront. So while we do offer CloudFront as a CDN, it's also WAF and DDoS. So they have their Shield product. So we have layer 4 through 7 DDoS protection there. In addition to that, we also still run and maintain the MageSec Council, the magesec.org, and there we have our malware rules and our malware scanner, which we use internally, and everything that we find we contribute out to the community. So anybody who's not even hosting with us can go to magesec.org, download the scanner, and the scanner then scans the local files for malware. And it subscribes to the definitions that we publish over on magesec.org. So when we find something or someone else finds something, we incorporate it all over there. So we do malware virus scanning on the files. We also do external checks because sometimes things getting injected like into the database. And we'll look for skimmers. So we do external checks on your pages as well to look for any kind of CC skimming going on. Yeah, no, I mean, and patches, we will nag you to death if you don't have a patch, and we will patch it for you. If you email support and you say, "Hey guys, can you patch this for me?" Absolutely, and we do auto patching, but after M2, since M2 requires upgrading a lot of times, what we've done is we've combined our patching so that you can patch your own store right from the MageMojo control panel. So you can go to MageMojo.com into your servers and you can run the patcher. like I said, we'll run it for you if you email support. And then that includes them too as well. So every time there's a new patch, we incorporate that. And anybody who's not hosted with us can go to magesec.org and get that patcher. So if you want to use our patcher and use our malware scanners, you can do that. It's on GitHub, totally free to use.
All about giving back to that community,
We
right?
love it. We really, really love it.
So I'm gonna go with Mikey W, Miky, Mickey. I don't know. Mikey W, is your Cron extension compatible with Stratus already? I know there were incompatibility issues recently.
The Cron extension on Stratus, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
If there was, we would have knocked it out quickly. There were some GitHub issues from other people using it, which we've responded to and knocked out. If you have any specific questions about incompatibilities, let us know. But yeah, no, we wrote that specifically for Stratus, so there shouldn't be any issues with it, unless there's a corner case, which we should have, and we probably did rectify quickly. But let me know if there's something missing.
Jason Cochran commenting on the Alabama connection that we had going in the chat in the questions mentions the phrase "roll tide." And Jason, we will not have that kind of language on this live stream. It will not be permitted in the chat. I am an Auburn grad, or I am a mile from Auburn city limits at this point, and you need to get your act straight and really start self-evaluating your life's choices if you're going to speak like that in public. So keep your questions coming. We're going to get to all of them. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel, shameless self-promotion stuff. And I am just going through the questions here that's posted in chat. So if you want to know something in particular that you want us to touch on, then post it. Getting a lot of great comments, saying that, what you're building is awesome. And let's see here. Kane is asking, the MHM platform was incredibly easy to use with administration, effectively making Magento easier to work with. How does the Stratus interface compare to Mojo Host Manager in terms of ease of use?
The Stratus 2.5 interface is kind of bad, to be honest. We had to reorganize things to fit the structure of Stratus. And it's okay. I mean, it's still good, but the organization I wasn't a big fan of. But Stratus 3 UI, that's really good. So the Stratus 3 UI is incredible. Like, it breaks out the Magento commands, so you can actually interact with Magento from Stratus 3. So if you want to run any of the Magento CLI commands from Magento, any of the N98 Mage run commands, also you can go in and you can do things like set your base URLs, change the mode, things that you would try to do on your own that could potentially lock you out of your store, you can do from the Stratus 3 UI. So if you want to change those things, you can do that.
Great, and I think you've already touched on Eric's question about live local files. So I'll move to his next question about after you launch V3, will you automatically port sites to it, or can we do this one at a time to test and verify that there are no migration issues specific to a site?
Oh, actually, it's pretty much just a UI change. We don't need to like deploy any more clusters or anything like that. I mean, we're doing bi-weekly, or twice a week releases on Stratus, and that's one of the amazing things about it is everything is in code. So like years ago when we wrote our own UI, we put everything into SaltStack and Salt templates to template and control programmatically all of the server configurations. Like even back then in MHM now, a server configuration is a JSON object, and it's an Angular JS application, single page application, manipulating a JSON object, which is your server config, goes back over crossbar IO, gets parsed out into SaltStack, and brings your servers up to state. So on Stratus 3, it's very similar. And because everything is in code, all the infrastructure on AWS is in code, we can quickly put out releases and iterate through those releases. And we don't have to, it's not a whole big migration to get from 2 to 3. There's not a whole like big conversion process or any of that. So when it's available, you'll be able to use it and start switching over to the UI. So I think what we'll do is we'll have 2 UIs available. And then if you start to use one, then you're in that one and you move forward when you're ready. Otherwise, no, like the actual server containers and everything, there's no need to convert things.
So you're just there. So I've got
Yeah,
I've got I've got Quentin here, Shipper HQ in the house, giving me some props for the new neon. I got the Magento neon, which I think technically is LED light strips, but it's still really cool. I paid way too much money for it at Imagine, but I love the thing. And then over here, I've added kind of the sunset lights, which is it's actually a red light, a stoplight. It's got the red, yellow, green lights. I just kind of cut it up and wired it to an extension cord to add a little color to the background. So I do appreciate the props on that. We're enjoying continuously trying to improve what we're doing here. Life is about improvements, man. Iteration or iteration.
Did anyone notice he doesn't have any stickers on his laptop though?
I don't see. Well, first of all, this is a new laptop. This is fairly new, not super new, but all my stickers go to the fridge, man. You see the stickers back there. I have like 8 million stickers on that fridge, and the guy's going to give me a hard time because there's none on my MacBook. The fridge costs a lot less. I put stickers on it, a lot more surface area to cover up. So, and Swift Otter says it is Joseph watching the live stream. We appreciate you watching, Joseph. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, thumbs up the video. But if you, we appreciate what you do. You're killing it. Everybody should go check out Swift Otter and check out what they do when it comes to getting certified, which is very important. Get your certifications. All right. Jason, give me a hard time about the swaggies. All right. So the Guardian, Nashville, Tennessee, I believe, if I have that correct. By billing off of Google Analytics sessions, does that include or remove bot traffic? As we all know, there's a ton of index bots.
Removes it. And this is one of the reasons why we built Stratus, is because on the old server model where you're limited to the cores in it, and even with auto scaling, when you go over your cores that you're allocated and get billed for it, customers complain all the time. They don't understand what's using the CPU. Magento in itself is already so CPU heavy that when the bots come, or as something hits your search, or there's all kinds of just shit traffic from all over the place, we sat down and we put all of the logs from the servers into Elasticsearch cluster. We had math PhDs come in, write algorithms for us to tell us what's using CPU. And then we were able to tell, okay, CPU is being used by this IP address, by this user agent, by this geographical region. It's this API call, it's this admin path, this admin user's doing this, and correlate it with file changes to see why it spiked. We put so much effort into that, and then customers still didn't understand. So on Stratus, we said, look, let's make that our problem. That shouldn't be your problem as a customer. Make that our problem. So in Google Analytics sessions, it's real user traffic only. So you're not paying for bots. You're not paying for API calls. You're not paying for admin users, only real user traffic. That's our problem now. It's our responsibility to keep the bots and everything else off of Stratus, because the bots can come into your Stratus instance and blow it up and it'll just auto scale horizontally. Like, it doesn't care. We care though, because our AWS bill goes up. So now the responsibility is on us as a hosting provider to filter that out and keep that off your site. You don't have to pay for it or worry about it anymore.
Nice. Jason's asking how I plan on blowing up all of the swag. That's still an ongoing discussion at this point. We will shoot some of it to see, like, you get all of these notebooks, right? Like these types of notebooks people give away. This is my Magento one, which I'm keeping. But I'm going to see how many of those it takes to stop a bullet, because you never can tell when you're going to be at a conference and you're going to need to stop a bullet. I'm going to melt some things. I was trying to buy a flamethrower that fell through. So I'm Tannerite sounds good. Some high powered fireworks. We're still trying to work out the details. That's one of those things where I could just film blowing stuff up, but we have to work through the details of how we destroy stuff more so than just destroying it. And so that's why it's probably going to be a few weeks before I get around to it. So John Davis asked, how reliable is it to use GA data that is set up by the client for billing? Example, I've seen sessions being doubled due to poor implementation.
Poor implementation, sessions doubled. That's a good question. We haven't come across that problem. We do get into some interesting areas when people have multi-sites. So we make sure that it's validated. So on our end, what we're most concerned with is the GA code there? Do we have access to it? And we will nag you to death if we don't. And then eventually we will rate limit your store if it's not there. But as far as like doubling it out and seeing double sessions, I haven't seen that. And to be honest, I think that would probably break our validation process if it was doubled up that way. So yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to know more about that if it happens. But certainly if somebody writes in and says, hey, we screwed this up and we put the wrong GA code here and we're paying double sessions, well, we'll work with them. We'll take a look at it and refund their bill. It's keeping customers happy is much more important than collecting a few dollars for us. So.
Okay, we've got Cal Evans and D. David Nettleton. Both have been on this stream and are regulars. I appreciate you guys watching. And Cal asked, what am I drinking? I'm still trying to get rid of this John Emerald. I'm getting close to the bottom, maybe 1 or 2 more live streams, and then I'm going to have to get another bottle. I feel like I need to be buying a bottle every week and then just taking it home so that I just, it's tax write-off and stuff.
How do you make that ice cube? How do you make the round ice cube?
Oh, hold on. I'll show you.
Oh my God.
A mold, right? There's a mold, and you pour water in here, and it molds
wait.
a round ice cube. Well, it's a hole in the top. You can't really see it too well. But there, see if I can shine the light on it. There's a hole in the top right there, and it's a rubber mold, and you just kind of close it. Now, I can't get it to not have cracks in it. Every time, the first one I made had no cracks. Everyone since has had cracks, and when it cracks, it doesn't do as well. It doesn't last as long. I've heard boiling it. I boiled for this when it still had cracks in it. I've tried distilled water. I've tried all sorts of different things. They all have cracks, but it's 100 times better than just using ice out of a bag. So I actually bought a bottle of Dewar's, which is, now let's just say less than stellar, just to get, because this came with it. So the Dewar's, I paid way too much money for this ice mold, and the Dewar's was free. But I don't like it to be watered down. Cal gives me a hard time about watering down my whiskey, but I do like for it to be cold because I have the palate of a small child.
I don't believe that.
All right, so Eric has another question here. For anyone wondering, okay, current customer comment. For anyone wondering, it's not a question. You do get SSH access and can use your own custom deployment workflow should you have one. That
is
you
correct.
agree that's a true statement? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Kevin, give me a hard time about choking on the John Emerald. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to inhale it. I was going a little too fast. I was hoping no one noticed. It didn't work out. All right, let's see. My thing just okay. People are giving me hard times about the Alabama comment there, but all right. So meet Magento New York. I'm assuming this is Marcia. That's my assumption at this point. But she's given. She's asking, is that a V-neck? That does not appear to be. Okay, it is. It is.
It is a V-neck. Meet Magento New York, November 1st and 2nd.
Eric is famous for wearing female cut V-neck T-shirts.
No, this is Baby Gap, man.
the baby onesie. For those that don't understand what the hell we're talking about, you need to be on Twitter. It's an inside joke. Sorry. All right. So again, give me a hard time, Marcia. Give me a hard time about no stickers on my laptop. They're all on. I'll put some stickers on the laptop at some point or another. Sorry. All right. I was the Guardians in Ohio. Sorry. Somebody else has a username very similar to that, and I guess I got them confused. Sorry about that. And Cal again, give me a hard time about the ice. I knew that was coming. All right, Anthony Walker. Again, guys, we're getting down to the end of the comments or the questions. Post some more. I told Eric we might go an hour and a half, so we got 30 more minutes.
Yeah,
if you've got more questions, please keep them coming. We just want to provide value however we can and help you guys. So your questions are more valuable than whatever garbage we could come up with to talk about. I got some garbage to talk about. We can ramble. I'd much rather answer your questions. So post them in the chat. Let us know. But Anthony Walker asked that he mentioned having their own cron installations to handle / validate Magento crons do actually execute and don't coincide. At least I think that's okay. He's posting actually to somebody else that retracted
Yeah,
their
yeah,
comments. So
that's
I
right.
need to read these to make sure
Hey,
they're
go
questions
go to
before I ask
GitHub.
them.
Go to github.com/MageMojo. Our M2 CE cron extension is there for everybody to use. It fixes all the problems in M2 cron, and there
Yeah.
are a lot.
Hey, and guys, thanks for answering the questions in the chat. That's fantastic. We love the participation. Keep them coming. We'll try to address them here as well for someone that might, not be watching the chat and catch this as well. So don't be afraid to, don't delete your questions just because someone answered them in the chat. So we're happy to answer them on video, even if an answer was posted. Again, we're just trying to help. Nadia Garcia in the chat asks, any plans for MageMojo Academy?
That's a great question. We love training and believe in community development, especially with developers. I've told Magento that the community is a garden where you can grow things, and one of the things you can grow is developers. And by growing developers, you spread the developer evangelism, which brings more companies to Magento. So we love the idea of training. Our high-level support team are now working through M2 training, and it will become required training for all of our staff. That was one of the big driving factors for us to move away from our own dedicated hardware and our own physical resources, get rid of all that, get rid of all the efforts and sysadmining things, and focus on Magento 2 and application support. So now with Stratus, we can allocate our resources into better training of our internal staff. And as far as external training goes for like MageMojo Academy, we're going to be putting out a lot of documentation, not only on how Stratus works, but how, Magento people should be using it and can benefit from it. But we support training, like even just the meetups. We support tons of little meetups. I like the idea of supporting training. I think that's a wonderful thing. TJ, should we touch on the Community Insider program, maybe? The Community Insider program that Magento
Go ahead,
put
touch
out?
on it, man. How do you want to touch it?
So Magento announced that Imagine there's a Community Insider program. I'm a little bit disappointed that maybe the marketing arm, which is so strong over there, kind of maybe twisted it a little bit in the sense that you have to pay and you have to send leads. But I like the idea of all the testing that's coming out. So maybe check into that and see what they're going to offer as far as like inside knowledge, resource learning, and access to early information. So that could be a good resource for community people to learn.
Absolutely. And I first heard about this at the Austin, Texas Magento meetup, which was, I don't know, a month or two ago. And it's basically like they were looking at a lower level of partnership for people in the community. And they were trying to figure out, how do we get Magento open source or Magento community edition customers, merchants, developers, agencies more involved in Magento, and how do we give them access to the exciting things that Magento's doing and provide them with the support. And I think the Community Insider program is just the beginning phases. Magento's got a lot of things going on. They're growing. They're adding a ton of resources. They announced the Magento Association, which we don't really know what that's going to be at this point.
I can
And the
speak to that.
community, yeah, the Community Insider, and let's touch on that. The Community Insider program is a new initiative to help smaller merchants have more access to Magento. And so, what that is and how that fleshes out is yet to be seen, but it's definitely exciting to see some formalization around Magento understanding that that's important.
I would love to see Magento pay people like Joseph at Swift Otter to put out training materials. I think they should invest heavily in that and training programs that are free, like maybe free Udemy programs. Put out as much free training as they can, have people learn it, absorb it. That benefits them, I think, far more than what the cost would be to produce it. So if I had my chance, I would get them to put more free training. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get through these questions. I definitely want to talk about Meet Magento New York and the Magento Association a little more. So but I want to get through these technical questions. Keep them coming. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. I mean, I'm all for all of them. So Chris asks in the chat here, Chris Strant asks, how quickly does your scaling react? Is it a few minutes, 30 minutes? Like how long does it take to actually see activity?
Oh, it's instant. I think as far as the metrics go, it's a few seconds, but being able to scale. So you have a buffer horizontally, or sorry, you have a buffer vertically, and in that time you can go horizontally. So by the time there's a few there's a few seconds to bring a container up on a new instance for Kubernetes to do that, to pull the Docker image for it to come online. In that meantime, you're being able to buffer up vertically. So you get a little bit of a buffer vertically, and then you just boom, expand out horizontally. It's a matter of seconds.
The Guardian asks, backups in general, assets, DB, etc. How and when does that occur?
We back up nightly. So, but with Stratus 3 though, in your live previews, the thing is, you should never have to worry about backups. Right now, we get a lot of customers who our backups are their source control, and we do a lot of restores when they make mistakes. But with Stratus 3 in the live preview, you can save a preview, you can reload a preview. So if you're working on something, you can create a snapshot point, and then you can continue working. And if you want, you can roll it back. So you're essentially making your own backups. It's not just source control. It is the server config, it is the database, and it is the files.
So Daniel Nettleton, David, as I will affectionately refer to him. If you don't watch this live stream, you may not get that. But he asks, how about those customer requests for DB table restores? E.g., if an admin deletes all the reviews, which has totally never happened to them. Of course, it's never happened
No,
to you.
nobody's ever
You would
deleted all
never
the
make,
products.
yeah, you would never make a mistake like that. You are perfect. But in theory, if someone were to do things like this, what's the process for getting certain tables restored? Maybe not a complete backup, and how long does that take?
Usually we do a full database. If you need tables, we will do that for you with the disclaimer like, hey, okay, we'll slice the tables out, but just keep in mind, this is not as a simple thing to do. There's margin of error here. Usually we can do it without problems, but we can do that for you. With Stratus 3, Stratus 3 is still the whole database. So yeah, restoring individual tables is a tough one, but we will do that. You have to request it though. So our support team will say, hey, we'll do the full database for you. And you say, well, I really need just these tables. And then we'll say, okay, like we'll slice that out for you, but just keep in mind, that's not a perfect thing always. So we'll do our best to do that for you. It's really something you want to avoid if possible.
Yeah, don't make that mistake. That's usually the best course of advice, but if you do, they can work with you to make that correction.
And we have scripts. We have scripts to slice that out too that we can give you if you're a developer and you're in that situation and you need to do it maybe locally or whatever.
MageMojo has scripts. Announcement: MageMojo has scripts.
Can you
This
believe
is the
it?
big takeaway. They have scripts. You want to do that? They have scripts. So we got Eric asking in the chat, any plans to add dashboard metrics to status? I know, I'm assuming he means Stratus. So any plans to add dashboard metrics, i.e. stats, traffic volume, etc., for the various containers involved in a site deployment?
Oh, no. And the reason is we don't want you to think about the containers. We don't want you to think about EC2 instances. The point is you don't think about that anymore. You don't worry about your Redis container. You don't worry about your PHP FPM container, like what it's doing, what it's using. We manage that all for you. It's peace of mind. Like it just works.
So you're saving people from themselves.
I
Not
let you,
providing
yeah, kind of. I mean, but you know what? This is a challenge that we face with Stratus because a lot of people have worked with AWS. So they have this pre-existing model in their mind of what AWS is. So they come and they ask us all these questions like, what kind of EC2 instances do I get? How many do I get? Do I get ELB? Can I do this with Elasticsearch? We're like, no. Like you're on the Stratus platform. Like you're part of the Borg now. You've been assimilated. Like it just runs, it just works. That's the whole point. Like you don't think about that anymore. Think about what you need to do, which is actually writing code, which is actually merchandising in your store, which is making more money. That's what we want you to do, is to get back to business.
All right, we've got a question from Comfort Research. Thanks for watching Comfort Research. I haven't seen your name in the chat before, so that's fantastic. We've got quite a few new viewers on the chat today watching us live. So the question is the MageMojo Cron on GitHub built for M2.2 Commerce, which is the Enterprise Edition as well, or is it only for the Community Edition or vice versa?
We wrote it for Community Edition. I don't know if anybody's running it on Enterprise, although we probably do because we install it for everybody on Stratus and we do have some Enterprise customers. But we would support that. Absolutely. Like if you're hosted here and you have an EE store and you want to use it, we'll work through it to make sure it works.
If there's anybody in the chat that knows, are there any differences? I don't know off the top of my head. Obviously that can be researched, but are there any differences between the cron for enterprise and community, especially on 2.2, that might prevent that from functioning? Let us know. Post something. I would love to hear from you. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But like Eric said, I think they'll be happy to support you in trying to figure out why it might not work. Right. That sound fair, Eric?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Aaron's telling me that I need to get a laser cut. Aaron is totally, I appreciate it, Aaron. I think that is the next improvement I need like the Jamerson logo or maybe the e-commerce happy hour across the back. Like I've got this billboard right here and I need a die cut, laser cut logo right here. I should not be advertising Apple. They did not pay to sponsor this particular live stream.
You should ask MageMojo if they want to buy a product placement.
I should totally sell this to the highest bidder. I am taking bids right now. It's going to be plus production costs. Post your bids in the chat. You could put whatever you want right here with limitations. We're not going to get offensive. Just go ahead, post them in the chat. I'm taking bids. All right, so we're going through, again, we're hitting Mage Training, Brooklyn Heritage in the house. Appreciate you watching. I do need to get one of those B. Meyer hats. Hit me up with an orange and blue. Seeing how I'm getting bombarded with Alabama references, hit me up with the Auburn orange and blue. I need an orange and blue. I will wear it. Send it to me. All right. So Carl Elder is hitting us with another question here. Speaking of training, do you have publicly available documents, manuals, or would we need to become customers to get access to that? Would like to get a look at the process on paper/PDF.
Yeah. So we have some things in our KB, just kb.magemojo.com. Since Stratus 3 is a big UI redesign, we're waiting to really push out a lot of documents. But email me, eric@magemojo.com, and submit your request because I'm curious what you'd like to see as a non-customer. We get asked a lot for architectural diagrams and things, and we had a lot of that published, but it seemed like it just led to more questions. And really, the questions on the architecture is what we want to, that's like anti-pattern for what we're trying to build. We want questions more about deployment. So maybe you're interested in like, how do I deploy on this, or how does this save me time as a developer? Yeah, shoot me an email and let's have a discussion about that.
And I think they were specifically asking around training. There seems to be a big need in the Magento community for training, and there's a few companies out there doing training. I know I've had a few potential customers ask about training, and we can do small one-off engagements, but it's better to have someone that focuses on that. Obviously, you've got the Magento training. I think, is the training for MageMojo customers, or is the training for anybody?
What's the training on? Is it on using our products or using the Magento backend and like customer, how you would configure products, or is it like coding UI components? Like there's a lot of different aspects to that.
So Carl, if you're still watching, post in the comments, let us know what kind of training are you looking for. I would like to get you an answer to any of your questions. There's several people that provide Magento specific training. If you're talking about training for MageMojo's products, then obviously we've got Eric here. Who better to ask?
I do. I have downloaded and watched some of the Nomad Mage videos, Mage training. I know Laura Falco does some training as well. Who else does training, TJ?
Those are the big ones that I'm aware of. I think there may be a couple of others, but you've definitely got Mage training, which I think is tied to Magento. And
Yeah,
then
that's
you've
correct.
Magento themselves, obviously, and Magento U. I think Laura's stuff is through Magento U, I think, or through Magento. So there's several options there. Nomad Mage is fantastic if you're not especially if you've got a lot of developers. If you're really diving deep, if you're trying to learn how to just use Magento, then that's probably not the right source for you. But if you're looking to really learn about development, they really go deep into a lot of awesome topics. So clarify your question, and I'll do all I can to get you an answer for that.
Oh, it looks like he did. He says about 2 weeks to learn his current hosting solution. That's interesting.
Not going to happen again. Yeah.
No. I mean, if you have to spend 2 weeks learning the Stratus 3 UI, then we really, really screwed up. Yeah, no, I would. That shouldn't be a problem with Stratus 3.
So apparently, Cal Evans mailing me a check. We're gonna put voices of the elephant here, or OSMI. I'm not sure what he's sponsoring, but or Nexus. We've got a little competitor in the house. Sorry to bring that up. Carl, you definitely. I don't know who you're with currently, but give MageMojo a call, man. Let give it a try. See what's up.
Ask Cal if he removed the SiteGround logos from Nomad Mage now that he's with Nexus.
You just asked him.
Let's see if he answers.
All right. So going back to questions, Guardian asked, we use the Magento multi-store configuration for multiple stores. How do you handle those? Also including multi-domain SSL certs.
That's a great question. So we have that built into the UI even now, allowing you to set up the multi-stores. So you can add in your store codes, everything on the server side you can do there. And then as far as multi-domain SSLs, you can bring your own, but you need to have a multi-SAN, multi-domain. They all need to be in the same certificate. Or you can use our free Let's Encrypt. So all of Stratus has free SSL, and it can do multi-domain. It'll do them all in a single SSL certificate. So if you want to use our Let's Encrypt, you can do that.
Nice. Okay. So Kane asks another question here. I've never quite understood how your staff is able to support Magento in a way no other provider can. And this is without certifications. What is your secret? I'm not sure. Is this guy working for you? I'm not sure. This sounds like a loaded question.
No,
and then he tosses a softball. So what's your secret, man? How do you guys do it?
Well, no, that's really simple. That's really simple. It's all we do. It's all we do. We've only hosted Magento since we started this company. Like, no other companies out there saying like we only host Magento except for us. Like, that's all we do. So we see the same issues over and over and over again, and we've created what's called our Mojo Flow. So our Mojo Flow is a 3-level outline that allows us to classify all of the issues that we see. So when one guy learns something, we make sure that the whole team knows it and understands it. So when one person discovers a secret of knowledge, he makes sure that all the rest of the team has it. Then when tickets come in, they can reference that and go through it and work through problems and then escalate things they don't know, which completes the feedback loop, man. It's all about like DevOps. Read the DevOps handbook and the 3 ways, and you'll get into feedback loops. And the feedback loops are what's so critical to being able to do this so well.
So Eric asks, do the dev preview sizes affect billing?
The sizes, in terms of storage, yes. So we do bill for storage. The dev instances are rate limited. They're rate limited, so you can develop on them, but you can't put them into production. They wouldn't hold up under production. But we do bill for storage. So we add all the storage up, and then that goes on your bill. So you can create as many as you want, as many snapshots as you want. We just add it all up at the end of the month, and we average it over the month and then bill for that.
Looks like we actually have Laura in the house. Feel free to pimp your Mage training here in the chat if you choose to do so. We've got a few questions left. Keep asking them, please. We're going to talk about Meet Magento New York, but if you've got more questions, Keep them coming. I definitely appreciate everyone watching. We've still got over 50 people watching. This is by far going to be not even close. It's going to be the most watched live stream we've done. It's great to have these continue to grow. Please let me know what topic you want us to touch on. I've got a few planned. We want to continue to have more people in the Magento community in this live stream, but I want to give you what you want. So you guys let me know what you want to hear about. Nobody told me we need to talk about hosting. And then I have hosting on and all you people show up. And obviously you wanted to hear about hosting.
Guido's got some questions.
Yeah, we'll get to Guido's questions. Hito, I'm working on my pronunciation. I'm going to be MC of Meet Magento Netherlands. I'm working on pronunciation. Hito,
I'm so sorry
to all some great questions.
To all my international friends, I'm so sorry for murdering your names all the time. I really do make an effort not to do that.
Oh, I'm bad. I'm working on it because I've got to announce names as the MC. So we've got a few more questions though, and again, keep them coming. Karthik Moderetti, again, that may be me mispronouncing the name, but Karthik, do you support multi-AZ support for Magento hosting like a multi-region support? Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, so it's two different things, multi-region and multi-AZ. So multi-region is a different geographical location. Multi-AZ is multiple data centers and multiple facilities in the same geographic area. So multi-AZ, some things are multi-AZ. So our Kubernetes master, Aurora's backend storage, the backend storage for our in-memory file system is on S3. So we make sure that the key components are across multiple availability zones and that we can shift into another availability zone if there is an availability event. But as far as like, do we have instances running hot across availability zones? No. And the reason is the latency. So we originally had, like Aurora, for example, we had read replicas in across a different AZ. And there's, you know, a 3, 4, maybe 5 millisecond latency between the two. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're working with Magento and you might have 100 database calls or over that, it really adds up. So what we found is that the benefits for being real-time hot cross AZ were not worth the additional latency that it created. So what we have is a system where we can fail over to the other AZ if we need to, but it's not hot running across both because of the additional latency and the performance hit that caused.
All right, so a little bit of self-promotion real quick. We've got Meetup Series next week. We've got Charlotte, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida. If you happen to be in any of those geographies, please let me know. We would love to have you for the people who happen to be watching. And again, we're going to continue with the questions here. I try to provide value before I intermix my shameless self-promotion. I'm sorry before you complain. I apologize. But Mark Lewis asked, does Fastly work with Stratus?
It doesn't not work with Stratus, but we really
it doesn't. We're not going to say it does, but it doesn't not work with it.
No, you know what? We don't really like to have things like that in front of us. We see a lot of Cloudflare, and Cloudflare kind of makes sense because you can control your DNS and you can quickly switch your DNS because it proxies requests, and I like that. I think there's a benefit to that, but it creates a lot of problems. Like, a lot of times we get into support issues and it's not on our side. So it burns our support up trying to figure out, oh, is it here? Is it there? And then we have to work with their support. So does Fastly work? We wouldn't support it, and we wouldn't support Section IO. And I know a lot of people they like varnish on the edge. People like that. I don't particularly like it. I don't particularly see the benefit in it. But if you want varnish on the edge, then you can do it. But if you run into problems, you could get into a situation where our support's slowed down because now we have to go back and forth with Fastly or Section IO, and that can be very time consuming. So I would say the benefits aren't worth it to use, because it's really just varnishing the edge. We already give you CDN, so you have premium CloudFront CDN, and all the requests, even the page itself, goes through CloudFront. So this is one of the benefits of CloudFront. We send all the HTML and PHP pages through CloudFront, and what that does is it terminates the public internet at the edge of the closest geographical CloudFront POP. then it travels back to the region, the home region, over private AWS fiber. So you're not going over the public internet all the way back, you're going over private AWS fiber. So that's a huge benefit of sending all of the traffic through. So we have WAF, we have DDoS. By using Fastly, you're just getting varnish at the edge, which is very, very minimal performance improvement, maybe a few milliseconds.
All right. So Chris Strand asked, is your customer support team outsourced at all? How many people make up customer service?
Customer service, I don't actually know how many people are on the customer service team. I know it's over half of our team. We have guys in the US on the East Coast that do our daytime. We have guys on the West Coast who do our evening, and then we have a team in Ukraine who does our night. So some of it is outsourced to Ukraine. We have some ex Magento guys, which are amazing, and some of our core engineers actually. So we have most of the management is here. And then we have developers over there, and we have support everywhere. Basically, we follow the sun. Our support model follows the sun. We want people awake when you email them.
Yeah, it's always good that they're awake when you need support from them. It's tough to get in touch with people that are asleep. They're always grumpy and groggy. It's just not a good idea. Looks like we got into a little bit of a bidding war for the back of my laptop. It appears as though Cal Evan has won for $5.25. Cal, if you want to mail me a check for $5.25 and a decal that fits on the back of this laptop, I'll be happy to rock it for the next live stream. You win. Carl Elder asks about, he said he's going to email. He mentions that he's not really looking for architectural diagrams. He just wants to see how they deploy, what it looks like, and he will email. So let's see. And Cal is talking. He's pimping Nomad Mage here on the live stream. Great resource. If you're not subscribed to Nomad Mage, it's fantastic. You definitely need to check that out. It's good to have Laura in the live stream. Always welcomed. I appreciate you watching. And again, I'm just kind of going through the chat here. If you have questions, let me know. Let's see. And I hate it when, like, sometimes you're scrolling down the chat and it just jumps. Slinky mentions that the Magento 2 GitHub issue list is the best source for troubleshooting. So check that out, I assume. And Let's Encrypt. Some folks just randomly posting about Let's Encrypt in the chat. You got anything to add to the Let's Encrypt discussion?
It can be a pain in the butt to make sure that the validation works right. We put a lot of time and effort into making sure, especially on the auto renewal things, like Nexus gave up auto renewal on Let's Encrypt and just straight said, we're not going to do it. There's a lot of challenges with it, but we still support it, and it's working pretty good now. So I like it. The only reason not to use it is if you want to do an EV cert. If you want the green bar when customers come to your site, Let's Encrypt isn't going to do that. Otherwise, just rock the free Let's Encrypt.
All right, so Ryan McDonald asks he gets right to the heart of it right here, right? You've got Magento Cloud, and we're a Magento partner. We're selling Magento Cloud. Every Magento partner is, if they're selling enterprise, they're out there selling Magento Cloud. Now, obviously, if you're not Magento Enterprise, which is a lot of Magento merchants, then they're not going to have cloud's not an option for them at this point. So if you're maybe cloud's not right for you, or if someone's considering cloud versus MojoStratus, how do you position versus what Magento's doing?
Well, our cloud actually auto scales. Magento ECE is limited to 3 instances. If you want to scale, you need to open a ticket. So there's no, I don't know why they call it auto scaling when you have to open a ticket. And then you're limited to 5 of those a year, actually. 5 of those a year, 5 auto scaling events a year. The architectural side of it, it's GlusterFS, it's Galera. GlusterFS is absolutely terrible. We've tested that. It doesn't work. You're going to have a lot of performance issues there. Also, on ECE, like, the pricing is very different. We've heard a lot of complaints with pricing where the more money you earn in gross revenues, the more you pay. And with Stratus, it's pay for what you use. It's actually, hey, you only pay for it when you make money. So it's based on your conversion rate. So you actually use more, you're actually paying more. Also, the support. The support's a huge thing. You know, we hear a lot of problems with people and tickets on ECE. Tickets are going out weeks, you know, to get answers. Some questions aren't even answered. We have a 15-minute SLA. We completely rewrote the Magento 2 cron to fix issues that customers have. Like, we'll actually go in and rewrite things and help you. You know, ECE will tell you we didn't build it. Like, we're sorry you have a problem, but we didn't build it. You know, we'll actually go in and say, yay, it's this file, it's this line number, it's this piece of code. Here's why it's a problem. Here's what you should do to fix it. So, you know, it's not auto scaling. It's limited to 3 instances. The pricing, even what you get for pricing, if you look at the fine print, it says generous allowances of things. I don't know what a generous allowance is, but I wouldn't trust Magento to tell me what it is, because it could change at any time. No, we actually tell you what you get, and it's very simple, and it actually does auto scale horizontally unlimited.
All right, so we've got Cal Evans giving best non-answer ever. I'm assuming he's prodding us about the Fastly answer we had a little while ago about it does not work.
No, it'll work. It'll work. But our support will probably, in some situations where you get into problems, they will say, look, you're using Fastly. You have to disable it in order for us to further troubleshoot your issue. So
it was a deflection, Cal. It wasn't a non. We answered it, but deflected. So we've got Sean McManus asking, how is your HTTP/2 support?
Yeah, we have HTTP 2 support. We've had that for 2 or 3 years now, I think, at least 2.
And yeah, Sean, if you put HTTP, it thinks you're trying to post a link, and so it won't let you post that in chat. Only I can do that, and I feel very proud of that power, and I wield it very lightly. So, yeah, appreciate the questions. Keep them coming. We're running to the bottom here. We're going to start talking about what I want to talk about, which is not as nearly as entertaining and useful as what you guys want to talk about. So keep them coming. Again, just to comment on Varnish on the Edge is extremely important for international TTFBs. I love the acronyms in this industry. It is fun trying to keep up with them and figuring out what the hell everybody's talking about.
Well, okay, so yeah, I like to talk about that, because if you're doing business globally, then Varnish on the Edge. So, for example, if most of your customers are in the U.S. and you're out of North Virginia, then that's cool. But if you want to go to serve somebody who's maybe over in Australia, which you could totally use our Sydney region. We're in Sydney, we're in Frankfurt, we're in London, we're in Northern Virginia. But if you want to support international customers all over the world, yeah, if you go from Northern Virginia all the way around the world to the bottom, just to Oceania, down to Australia, you're going to have maybe a 200, 250 millisecond round trip latency for that. So if you're that rare customer who needs the absolute lowest performance everywhere in the world, Varnish on the Edge for your homepage will save you 200 or 300 milliseconds. Is that really worth it? You know, considering that you're still serving everything else, all the big things off of the CDN in the local region, and you're still coming back over AWS private fiber? I don't know. I don't think so. That's my opinion.
Every millisecond counts, Eric.
I see now that, yeah, I mean, so we see that a lot, where if you reduce the latency on the time, but once you get under 2 seconds, it starts to fade off dramatically, the conversion improvement on those few milliseconds. It's a very diminishing return at that level. And I think people usually have many other areas where they can improve performance than thinking about, you know, Varnish at the Edge.
At that point, you're just barking up the wrong tree in most cases, right? You got a lot of other low-hanging fruit you could work on instead of that. Marcia, I'm assuming it's Marcia, Meet Magento New York, has bid $10 for the back of my laptop. Mail me a check and a sticker, and you know, there's a live stream every week here, people, just about. So I will sell. You know, just keep sending checks and stickers, and we'll throw them on the back. All right, so Ryan is thanking you for taking time out of your day for answering the questions. Again, keep them. We've been an hour and a half. I do want to touch on Meet Magento New York. Jason is telling Marcia that she missed the bid, even though I'm always for sale. What's the dream if you could have Stratus 4 right now? So what if when you get to that point, like, where are you ultimately going with this thing?
where we're going is enabling everybody to work very, very efficiently and productively on Magento 2. When Magento 1 hit like 1.5, you know, up until a lot of people forget, up until like Magento 1.5, 1.6, Magento 1 was really hard and difficult to work with. But then it stabilized for all that time, and we became very comfortable with it. But when Magento 2 came out, it used a lot of new technologies, and developers had to learn a lot of new things, and that was a big struggle for everybody. So our goal is to make it easy for people to use Magento 2, to develop on it, to develop more consistently, to write better code, to get themselves out of trouble, to not paint themselves into corners, and to give them sets of rails that they can follow so they can build things quicker. So people like you, TJ, you can build it quicker, you can build it cheaper. The store owners can run it faster, they can run it cheaper. And in the end, everybody just makes more money and benefits from it. That's the end goal.
And Sean asked, do you write Magento logs errors reports to disk?
Yes, we actually do. We do. And because we're not using the typical Gluster FS networked file system, when we do that, we're able to do that quickly and efficiently. That's a big part of Stratus, is the file system.
Comfort Research, thanks for watching again. You know, late, not late, doesn't matter. Thanks for joining. You can always watch this on the YouTube channel later if you want to catch up with what you missed. Came in the stream a bit late. We are on the cusp of launching an m-commerce instance on Stratus, hopefully this month. Is Stratus 3 being deployed automatically, or is there a process for moving over? I think we've touched on this already, Eric, but let's just recap to make sure they're aware.
So to recap, we're able to give you access to the new UI to start working with it. I think once you go over to the new UI, you'll have to stay there, but you can test it. So if you want to get like a test store on it, like we can show you, you can show it around. And actually, anybody who wants to get involved in the Stratus 3 developer insight program, just shoot me an email, Eric@MageMojo, and I can get you in and get you show you the UI, get you some test instances to use, and get your feedback from it. Also, our private Slack channel, you can participate there. So as a customer, we will make it available to you, and then when you're ready, you can switch over the UI. But as far as like converting the underlying what you have now running, we won't need to do that.
So it's a simple process of getting the new user experience if you need it. So don't worry, there's not a lot of technical challenges there. Kane asked my last question. And of course, keep asking questions. It's fine. I'll keep him here as long as possible. Let's make him quit.
I'm good.
Let's make him quit. My last question: will MageMojo offer support in different languages?
No, I don't think we can do that. Maybe we could. No, it's too hard. You know what? To do 24/7 support is very, very difficult. Staffing it is very, very difficult. So could we open an office in another country? Yeah, and support that language, but be able to do that 24/7? No, I don't think that's worth it for us, probably.
Okay, that's where the line has been drawn.
That's the line. It's there. I guess that there is one finally, and that's the one.
That was a great answer. Sometimes I hate people that are just like, yeah, you know, but you know, sometimes you just got to kind of draw a line and figure out where that is. All right, so Marsh, send some stickers. Send a check. Send some stickers. All right. I mean, you keep talking about it. Talk is cheap. I want to see a check for you won for $10 and some stickers. So MageMojo should look at doing their own varnish edge. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, as far as the number of customers who want that, we don't have a lot of those. Maybe we will in the future, but most of our customers, they might ship to like, they'll ship to a specific area, like a specific country, or they might ship to maybe 1 or 2 more regions. But as far as like all around and releasing something, I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence. If somebody has evidence for that, and I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. Just email me, Eric@MageMojo, and convince me, because it's not that we can't do it. It's just I don't see the cost benefit analysis making it worthwhile. And maybe I'm missing something. I absolutely could be missing something. So please share it with me.
Let him know. So we have gotten through all of your questions. Post some more if you have them. Let us know. We'll be happy to get to them. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Thumbs up this video, please. We've had like hundreds of people watch this video. We've got 34 thumbs up. It's pitiful. Hit that thumbs up button. And so let's talk about Meet Magento for a little bit. You guys sponsored, organized. Marcia did all the work. You took all the credit.
Yes, Marcia's fantastic. Marcia's absolutely fantastic.
For Meet Magento New York. And so are you doing that again this year? Have you picked your dates? What does that look like?
We're doing it again. So we are members of the Meet Magento Association. We were out there to Imagine an Extra Day for an organizers meeting where they talked about the changes that are coming into effect. So Meet Magento New York, November 1st and 2nd. We are doing it here again. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Going to be huge. No, it's a great event. So the website's up. You can submit speaker. So if you want to come speak, you can submit your talk. If you want to sponsor, reach out to us. We're looking for sponsors as well. We have a lot of people signed up already, which is great because last year was a struggle. That was our first year we did it. But this year we have tons of people coming forward like, you guys killed it. We want to sponsor. We want to sponsor. Let me see if she has anything. Yeah, so Marcia's email texting me.
Say this.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's fantastic. Magento needs a big US event, a second one. The second part of the year. They're doing Meet Magento, or not Meet Magento, but Magento Live Barcelona this year. So we're hoping that we'll get people coming over in November. So I think that's like mid-October or end of October. So we had to move our dates, but no, it should be great. It should be great.
All right, so we've got John Davis asking if we're giving away bottles of John Emerald. I know you guys are jealous. You're jealous.
He says he doesn't have a sponsor, but John Emerald is the sponsor.
Because you can't get this anywhere else. Like, they only sell it in the state of Alabama. Their distribution, their production is very small. I tell you what, John, I'm going to make this commitment right now. And somebody remind me, please. Please remind me. I'm going to bring a full bottle of this to Meet Magento New York, which I did last year.
Yes.
And the venue, well, no, it wasn't. It was. I'm sorry. It was Mage Titans we took it to before.
Titans, they took
it away from us. They took the bottle from us. Would not let us drink it in the venue. I will bring a bottle of this to Meet Magento New York, and I will be more than happy to share it with everyone. So please remind me to do so. Come to Meet Magento New York. Hopefully, I'll be speaking. I've submitted a talk. We'll see if they accept it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not good enough.
Still evaluating.
Yeah, I get you. It's cool. Evaluate. But regardless, I'm going to be doing some live streaming. We'll be talking. You guys get on, come get on the live stream. We'd love to have you. And we will be enjoying this as long as they let me drink it in the venue and they don't take it away. I dropped the top here somewhere. I got to find that. But this is good stuff. This is my favorite single malt. I'm sure there's really expensive single malts out there that's wonderful, but I am cheap and I've only drank cheap single malts, and this is way better than any of those.
It's good. I can confirm it's good.
Yeah, Eric had some. I've been sharing it. John Emerald, for a little distillery in Opelika, Alabama, does an incredible job with their spirits. So I'm looking forward to Meet Magento New York. What does the Magento Association mean? Like, what is that? The change, is that mean we're going to have more events? Does that mean more resources behind the events? Like, what's the difference with Magento getting actively involved in that versus just what was going on before?
Well, so before it was really just Thomas Goletz. It came out of Germany, and Thomas was really funding the thing out of his own pocket, and they later formed a partnership, like an official partnership with Magento, but it was still like we as organizers didn't get a lot of support from Magento. I know last year it was a really big struggle. So this year what they said is by bringing out this new organization, they're committed to providing us with more resources for the event. So hopefully they could do more marketing to their internal, like the download list to Magento, or the partners list, getting the partners engaged, sending us swag. I think last year they sent us like some stickers or something. So hopefully we can at least get a little swag this year, Magento, hint, hint. No, they say they're going to have a lot more support, which hopefully is marketing it, and especially driving out merchants, because everybody wants the merchants to come out, and that brings the sponsors and brings the speakers. And so hopefully.
Yeah. Magento, do the swag store. There's no reason to not have the swag store at Meet Magento, New York.
Yeah,
Sell
totally.
things like this. Sell these stupid little elephants you're selling for $25 that are worth probably $5, but people love the elephants. People love the shirts. There's no sense in not having a swag store and or some giveaway stuff. And by the way, for people that maybe are on the fence, I've been to every U.S. based Magento event for the past 3 years, or two years. Technically, this year will be the third year. And I love all of the events. I love the Meet Magento New York's for the last 2 years. I love the Mage Titans events in Austin, Texas for the 2 years. But the best one I've been to outside of Imagine, nobody has that budget, but outside of Imagine, the best one I've been to was Meet Magento New York last year. I love the venue. I love what you guys did.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. It was a much better put together production than I'm accustomed to. It was unexpected how good it was. Now, and I got the opportunity to speak there. That was fantastic. That helps a little bit, but even outside of that, it was a fantastic event, and you've set very high expectations. I know that was put together at the last minute. And
it was.
Yeah, I mean, you guys threw that together, and it was fantastic. And this year's just going to be a disappointment. It's going to be great. It's going to be better than anything else, but I don't think you can match the expectations I have for this year's event.
We'll try, and I'm sure Marsha will. I wouldn't bet against her, so she'll come through.
Cal giving me a hard time about the elephants. I'm sorry, Cal. I'm an Auburn fan. We're really kind of shell shocked by elephants at this point. We've already had that discussion with Alabama and words that I will not say. Just kind of, so I'm not a big elephant fan. I'm sorry, but I know people like them. I'm going to go through some of the user submitted questions we had here before the event. What do you recommend for synchronizing data between 2 or more app servers that are load balanced? They have an issue with L-synced with rsync, but it seems to be eating up RAM because Magento's many files, and we can't use a disk share because it's too slow. So you have some recommendations around that?
Yeah, that's a big challenge. So we've gone through a lot of issues. Even on our own cluster, we've gone through multiple iterations of things. I think what we landed on was a combination of GlusterFS for media and then lsyncd for code files. But you have to really, really finely tune lsyncd because, as they said, Magento has so many files, it'll just kill your RAM. And even Gluster runs wild on us sometimes. We hate it. So that was part of the thing that we had to re-engineer on Stratus that we did completely differently. But if you're not on Stratus and you need something, lsyncd is probably like the gold standard from what I hear from other people as well. You just need to tune the hell out of it.
Just take some work. Okay. So have you come up with any solution to reduce downtime for Magento 2 deployments to cloud production instances?
Yes,
that seems to be something that plagues all cloud deployment.
Yeah, that is a big part of Stratus 3, and we have it actually in Stratus 2, although many people don't use it because it's labeled under Stratus Cache. Yes, okay, so on Stratus 3, when you do a deployment, what happens is all of your build things run in the background on the files. So your code is in containers. So you have Nginx container, you have a Varnish, you have PHP FPM, and all the codes in there. So then what happens is when you run your build, everything builds in the background, and if there's no errors and it passes, then what happens is we compile that into a container image, new container images. The new container images come up when they're online and ready. Kubernetes redirects new incoming traffic to those. It waits for the old traffic to process and finish processing, and once it's done and it's drained, then it shuts the old containers down. So there's no lag there, there's no delay, there's no pause. You're doing like zero downtime deployments.
Great. So next question. Have you added the ability to update PHP on Stratus servers? In your initial release, there were stack limitations that prevented updating PHP to 7.1.
No, yeah, I think that was Kalen. I think Kalen was running like some Laravel framework and wanted something. We support what Magento supports. So we will always have PHP 7 versions to match what Magento needs. So no, it's totally easy. Like we can roll out a new PHP config by tomorrow if we wanted. I think we just actually released 7.1 and 7.2. TJ, I don't think people can see it because I'm talking. I should stop talking so they can.
Die cut to me. I'm choking up. I'm dying. I need a mute button. I can't see the mute button, so I'm choking to death on my whiskey here.
Okay. No, so we can release any PHP version, any additional container. It's really easy to do. I'm not really sure where that came from. I think Kalen might have mentioned it. And it was only because it was for a Laravel upgrade that he wanted to do on Commerce Hero. And I saw a question about Apache versus Nginx. This is a good question. We only support Nginx. We don't support Apache on Stratus. If you have conversion needs, we can help you convert your things over to Nginx. And we do have working M1, M2, and multiple M2.0, M2.1, M2.2 Nginx configs to make everything work. So it should be okay.
Great. Yes, I'm checking. The ice ball's gone. It's warm. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. I've got a Word document with previously submitted questions. I'm checking Twitter and LinkedIn. I've got a lot going on. Sometimes I forget to drink it and I inhale it. I'm sorry. It's okay. It'll be fine. So let's see. We're going through here. The Guardian asks if using OBS or XSplit can set a hotkey to mute your mic. Yeah, I get you. I'm not using OBS. I'm using Google Hangouts, and I think there's a mute button. But you got to understand my setup. I've got the camera so that when I'm looking at my screen to talk to Eric, I'm kind of looking at the camera, and the camera hides the mute button, and I just can't find it on short notice because I can't see. And I was choking to death, so I was more worried about breathing than I was muting the microphone.
I have a push to talk button. Like it's called Shush for Mac, and it automatically mutes my stuff. And then I have it mapped to a function key.
If I'd have thought about it, I've got this guy here. I could probably just mute this somehow or switch it. Let's see if I switched it to a different microphone. I don't know. I guarantee you there's a button on this thing to mic this or mute this mic somehow or another. But it happened. We are where we are. This is live, and I am drinking. So crazy things are going to happen.
Live drinking.
Yeah, this is not going to be good if we try to extract this into a podcast. I apologize, but for now, this works. I do need to set up some hotkeys to be able to mute my audio. That is a fantastic suggestion. We are always looking to improve, like with the billboard I've got here and the mute button. Great suggestion. Thank you. Ryan McDonald, do you use anything to interpret htaccess files for Nginx or needs to be a wholesale conversion for complex rewrite requirements?
Yeah, so interpret triggers me on why we use Nginx, because when you use htaccess rules, those are interpreted on every single page request. Nginx compiles everything into the configuration just like you would put it into the HTTP conf. It's one of the reasons why we like Nginx. But what we've done is we've included a section in our UI just for rewrites. So if you need to do rewrites, you can do that easily right into our UI. So you don't have to do the whole Nginx format. You can just do the rewrites there. And our team will help you with conversion of rewrites. I know they do that on migration. So if we migrate you over, they will convert all your rewrites for you.
Fantastic. So we've been going for 2 hours, guys. If you got any more questions, post them. This is officially the longest live stream. I guarantee it's going to be the most viewed live stream as well. We do appreciate you watching. We appreciate you subscribing. We appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button on this video. And we appreciate you posting your questions. I'm going to ask a few rapid fire questions because Hito did not think I would actually ask these questions when he was being sarcastic and what he thought was funny on Twitter. So I'm going to ask them. Here we go. What kind of peanut butter do you put on your PB&J?
Creamy, no question.
Okay. I mean, it's a good answer, solid answer. I'm non-discriminatory. I don't mind a little pulp in my orange juice, and I don't mind a little nut in my peanut butter.
Well,
but
Phil, Philip, he had a poll on Twitter, and Chunky won, which is totally fake news. Totally fake news. So I need to
think
set the record.
people were just trying to cause problems. I definitely am going to prefer creamy, but if that's all you got, like I'm okay with it.
The chunky
I'm
peanut
not that
butter
picky.
trolls from Russia.
Yeah, I'm not that picky. So when did you last sing to yourself?
Never. I'm a terrible singer. It's horrible.
I sing when I cook. Is that weird? Do you find that weird? Is that strange?
A little bit. What do you sing?
Whatever. Like I'll turn on the radio. I've got an Alexa device. I've got an Echo that I have wrapped like a natural light can. We showed it on one of the things here, but it looks like a natural light can, like a beer can. And I have it at the house, and I just tell it to play some music, and whatever's on, I sing. But I usually only find myself. Maybe that means I should have been a chef. Maybe I should have been a cook. Maybe I'm happiest when I'm cooking something. I think what it is for me, I am happiest when I am accomplishing something at a leisurely pace, right? There's no stress, there's no deadlines. There's just, but you're getting something done and you're having fun doing it, and it's not too stressful. And that's what cooking is for me. Even though I don't do enough of it, I do enjoy it. Okay, so what is Killer?
Ohm killer. So ohm killer is the process that kills the other processes when you run out of memory. So if I was a rapper, my street name would be Ohm Killer.
And for those that don't know, that is currently your listed name on Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah.
So vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla, hands down. I'm a vanilla guy.
Yeah, I'm simplicity. So I mean, again, not picky. I'll take some chocolate if you got it. But if vanilla is all there is, that's probably, if there's a choice, vanilla is probably the direction I would go. All right, so you guys are big supporters of Mage Talk, which is fantastic. And if you had to choose, though, if you've got a lifeboat and your boat's sinking and you're on a boat with Philip Jackson and Kaylin Jordan, and there's only room in the lifeboat for one more person, which one do you pull in?
My wife. Is my wife watching?
No, your wife's not there. Literally, it's you and Kaylin and Philip. Which one are you going to say, man? Which one?
Oh, Phil. I think he's lighter now. I think he's lighter.
Ouch. That is, man, Kaylin, I am sorry. I know you're probably live streaming right now. You're trying to roll in on my turf a little bit on this Friday afternoon live stream, and I'm sorry that Eric just killed you on the live stream. I apologize for that. That was not.
There's room for both. Come on, man. Like, Titanic and
I mean, this is a question. I don't write the questions, man. I don't write the questions, and you chose. Stand by. You once you make a decision, you got to stand behind it, right? You can't just be trying to backtrack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, so let's see. I'm going back to the chat here. If you've got any questions, you better get them in. This is a 2-hour live stream. This has been fantastic with Eric. I appreciate your time. We're going to try to get to any last questions. Let's see. We've already gone over the interpreting HT access questions, I believe. Kevin Gardner asked about Meet Magento New York. I'm sorry, Kevin, you didn't get to Imagine. You need to give EBSCO a hard time. Tell Wayne that I said you need to get to Meet Magento New York. So I can't readily find info on last year's activities, but what is there for developers, tracks, breakouts?
So last year we ran 2 tracks. We ran 3. So we ran a developer, we ran a merchant, and then we ran a breakout for sponsors. One of the big things that we did was we did not allow sponsors on the main tracks. Now, if you were a sponsor and you wanted to speak, you had to submit your talk, and we reviewed it and we accepted it based on merit, not because you gave us money. So this year we will have developers content, and we'll also have a merchant track. We want to cater to both. We think we can do an event for both sides. So there will be developer content there, no other developers there to network with. And the networking, I think, is like one of the most beneficial parts.
Networking is always the most beneficial part of any conference. You're going to go, you're going to get excited, you're going to see some talks, you're going to get some information, and you're going to get excited. But what's more important are the connections that you make at those conferences. Those are the long-lasting impacts of those events, and not necessarily the short-term inspiration you get from whatever conversations or talks are given. Yeah, John has hit me up about Elgato Stream Deck. I definitely need to get a little more sophisticated with this setup. That is the plan. I'm going to build a new set. We're going to do all sorts of things. We've got a lot of plans for the summer to get a little more advanced with what we're doing, and hopefully we'll be able to, see that through to fruition. We'll see. But that's a great suggestion. Cal Evans said Jif peanut butter, and then his next comment, Jack Daniels. That sounds like a wonderful sandwich. I may have to give that a try over the weekend. But a Jack Daniels and Jif peanut butter sandwich sounds lovely, Cal. I'm sure you're probably having one right now. Mark Lewis asks, whiskey or tequila?
Oh, tequila. Sorry, TJ. Sorry, I got to go tequila, man. I'm a big tequila supporter. So, tequila #1, rum second. But I'm drinking sake. Like I've been getting a lot of free sake, so I'll drink that. I'll drink to that.
I'm not a tequila. I had a bad episode when I was in my 20s.
Everybody's had a bad tequila. That's what makes it great.
That's why I just thinking about it is not. It took me 15 years to really start even trying tequila again.
That bad?
It's not. Yeah, it was. Well, here's what happened. Okay, I'm at New Year's Eve, and I'm at 21, 22 years old. And I bought like a gallon of margarita mix and like a gallon of tequila. I'm 21, 22. What do I know, right? And there's several other people drinking it, but you put a lot of margarita mix for a little bit of tequila. And what happens is you get down to the end of the night and several people are drinking, and you end up with this much margarita mix and a gallon of tequila. And so I decided that when it got down to the end, I had like a cup, like a big gulp cup, like a 40 or 60 ounce. It was a big cup. And I start deciding that I'm just going to mix it half and half, margarita mix and tequila. The tequila has already taken effect.
Hold my beer.
Clouded my judgment. So I start mixing them half and half, and then somebody dares me to just chug the big gulp cup, which I do. And Lord knows, I mean, I probably had 20 ounces of tequila, which was fine. I was good.
Please don't tell me it was Cuervo. Please don't tell me it was Cuervo.
No, it was worse than that, man. It was worse. I couldn't afford Cuervo. I was 21, 22 years old. Lord knows what guys, probably Montezuma or some garbage like that. It's not good. Now, if you give me like some Casa Amigos or something like that, that's a little different. But Montezuma, Cuervo, I'm just not one of those guys that's going to drink a lot of that.
I stick to the Don Julio, but I will go down to 1800 Reposado. I like 1800 Reposado, but usually Don Julio or Casadores or something like that.
Nice. Cal says if he had to say Phil or Kalen, he would go with Jack Daniels.
See, nobody wants to say Phil or Kalen, man. What kind of question is that?
Guardian said this was his first Imagine, and nobody told him night 2's party was so wild. You should have hung out with me. I slept 16 hours in 4 days. Imagine is a constant party. Vegas is a constant party. Always look for us at Parasol Up after all those parties are over. Mage Mojo pretty much takes over Parasol Up most nights, and we're hanging out there. Stay there till 4, and then you've got meetings at 8. That's kind of how my Imagine went. It's a rough time.
I will say
it's work. People think it's glamorous.
No, it's hard, man. It's hard. I will say on the Monday night event, they call it a networking event, and this was on Twitter. I really wish they would turn the volume down because you can't talk to anybody when the DJ volume's up so high. Now, Tuesday night, that's a party. People want to dance. That's cool. Like crank the music. But Monday night, they really need to turn that down so people can actually network and talk. Because that's one of the big benefits, especially while everybody's still kind of sober, not completely worn out. You got a little bit of an energy. Do the networking.
I agree. I really think they both need to be turned down. I'm not there to party. I go party this weekend if I want to party. I don't spend thousands of dollars to go all the way to Vegas where I've got people I only get to see once a year to go to some party where I don't really care to dance and I can't hear anybody's conversation. So I'm good with it. I understand I'm at least simple, Yeah, I'm even-handed enough to understand that other people may enjoy that environment. I would love an opportunity to, where all of those people are, to be able to have a conversation, whether that's, a room or a place or, it can't be like some creepy room in the back, But, you know, if that volume were just, it doesn't have to be, it's not a big difference. It's just enough to where I don't have to lose my voice halfway through the
My
evening
ear
trying to have a
literally cuts
conversation.
out, dude. My right ear literally cuts in and out when I'm trying to talk to in those environments. Like I can't do it.
Yeah. And I'm old. I'm hard of hearing. I'm sure maybe it's just me. I'm good. You know, if Magento decides that that's best for the majority, then that's fine. I'm fine with it. I'll just leave and go to Parasol Up like I did this year.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just one of those where I want to have conversations. I want to get to know people. I want to see people. I want to mingle with people, and I can't do that.
Yeah,
So,
I know, I agree.
I
I can
yeah.
understand Tuesday night why people might not want to, and I think that's okay, although I would prefer they turned it down. But Monday night, I don't think that's okay at all. I think that needs to be turned down for sure.
Mark Lewis is telling me to come to South Florida for the best tequila. I keep trying. I've tried. I've literally put effort into trying to get to 2 or 3 of those South Florida Magento meetups, and something always comes up. You know, it's just always one of those things where it's tough to do. I do plan on getting down to one of those. There's just so much. My travel schedule gets busier and busier every year, but I'll get down there sometime. Let's have some. You know, I'd love to drink your tequila. As long as you're buying, we'll have the best of the best.
That sounds good.
Jack Daniels glazed bacon sandwich from Aaron Sharp. I don't know where the hell you're getting that, but tell me, I will go pick one up. Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to call this quits. We've got a few comments here. Laura Falco, thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm sure you're still hungover from Parasol Up. Mage Mojo knows how to do it. Guys, appreciate you watching. We've gone for 2 hours and 10 minutes. This is by far the longest one. You had a lot of great questions. Don't forget to hit
Yes, thank
that
you for the
subscribe
question.
button. Go ahead and tap that thumbs up while you're at it. It really helped me out, help promote these videos. We can get more people on, give bigger impact, and help people, you know, answer their questions. So please give us some feedback, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. And I don't know, we're going to try to do one next week, but it may not be Friday because I'm going to be traveling. We got a lot of meetups next week. So I may try to do one Thursday instead. We just got to work out the schedule. The next 2 weeks are really crazy. So I'm trying to figure that out. Stay tuned. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll let you know what that schedule looks like. And thanks for watching.